Frank Corral of the Rams will be kicking off. And the Houston Oilers, who have had 2 come-from-behind victories, will be at the other end of Corral's kick as we go to start it off. Billy Johnson, and that's White Shoes is deep. However, it'll be Johnny Durden from the 10 to the 15 to the 20, and he is brought down by Phillips immediately. And there's a flag on the play. So Johnny Durden, who reported to Houston in June driving a concrete truck, he asked for a tryout, and he's made it. Here's the offensive line for Houston. Sampson, Reiner, Moore, Fisher, and Towns. The fellows who handle the football, Burrow, Castor, and Barber. The backfield, Dan Pastorini with Earl Campbell and Tim Wilson. So Pastorini trying to knock off the Rams. And here's a call.
Personal foul, clipping 51.
So the first penalty of the day, a clip against Houston. And the Oilers put it in play, 1st and 10 on their own 10-yard line. Let's see if the ball, yep, they're going to put another ball in play. So we're off to somewhat of a sputtering start here in Houston.
This is the first real break of the game, the penalty, making the Oilers work out of the hole.
Kenny Burrows wide left, and it is Tim Wilson, and he is stacked up by Larry Brooks, among others, and he gets out to shy of the 15. Let's take a look at this Ram defense, and what a defense it is. Jack Youngblood, Cody Jones, Larry Brooks, Fred Dreyer. The linebackers, Jim Youngblood, Jack Reynolds, and Isaiah Robertson. At the corners, Pat Temmis and Rod Perry, Dave Elmendorf and Bill Simpson at the safeties. 2nd and 6 from the 14-yard line. Burrows wide right. Campbell is the deep back out of the eye. Earl Campbell busted the tackle of Isaiah Robertson. He ran right through the tackle.
This is the spark. Now let's watch Campbell. Watch the acceleration. The blocking is good. Body position is good, and he falls forward. That's a good sign of a great back.
If they can do that, they'll stay in the ball game.
So Earl Campbell just ran right out of the grasp of Isaiah Robertson. 1st and 10 on the Oiler 23. Burrows is left, Renfro is right. And here goes Campbell, only this time he is upended right at the 20-yard line by Larry Brooks.
The Oilers have to be able to run the ball. They're going to run right at them. If they can't do that, then they're in trouble. If Pastorini has to throw too much, he'll get sacked.
2nd and 12 from the Oiler 21-yard line. Burrow right, Renfro in a slot. And it's still Wilson and Campbell. It's Tim Wilson bumping into a blocker, Sampson, and that ruined the play. And he tried to slide off his own man, and it stopped it.
Their game plan, Vinny, is very obvious right now. They're going to run right at him with man-for-man blocking. They're going to look like they're going to work the Rams' right side against the Oilers' left side.
Well, Mr. Excitement, Billy White Shoes, or as they called him in Pennsylvania, Billy Box Office, he's in there now. White Shoes on a wing on the right side, Burrow left, Renfro right, and it's 3rd and 11 from the 22. Pastorini over the middle, and he's got his man, Billy White Shoes Johnson, and it will be close to a first down, depends upon where they spot it, but it's out beyond the 30.
They had pretty good pressure on Pastorini. And he was hit after he threw the ball, which has its toll.
Yes, that's a trick that softens up a quarterback.
Jack Youngblood laid the wood to him, so now Cliff Parsley will be kicking. It was 4th and 1. Johnson 1 yard shy of the first down. Just the start of the ball game. 11:37 to go in the first quarter. No score. Jackie Wallace, Nolan Cromwell. Deep for the Rams, and Parsley kicks it away, and it'll be the front man, Cromwell, who fumbled and falls on the ball at the 38.
There's a matter of communication there, Vinny. That could result in a fumble. They have to call it out. I got it. I got it.
So with 11 minutes and 24 seconds in the first quarter, not very much going on. No score, the Rams and Oilers. The Rams put it in play. 1st and 10 from their own 38. Ron Jesse is wide right. Miller is left, and the running backs are Capoletti and Cullen Bryant. And it'll be Cullen Bryant, Capoletti, and France trying to put a block, and they got the block on Elvin Bethea, and that meant a couple of yards.
Those 4 linebackers are quick and they're physical. It's going to be difficult for the Rams to sweep the 34 defense like that.
Bethea's pretty big, number 65. He's 255 pounds, and he was fighting off both Capoletti and France and did a pretty good job. The play went for a yard. 2nd and 8. Miller left. Here comes Jesse Wright, and they split Capoletti and Bryant. Cullen Bryant, but he ran into people, and in this instance, the people is Curly Culp.
The Oilers are fired up. They're fired up. They're coming in with a nickel defense.
Curly Culp.
Okay, watch Curly Culp. Penetration is fantastic. The back does not have a chance in a situation like that. A back must be able to get started.
The key to the 34 defense is a nose man, a man like Curly Culp who can rush the passer and play the run.
The colorful Bum Phillips. He's won 25 of 45 since he took over in 75. 3rd and 8 for the Rams on the 40-yard line. Hayden has Miller left, Jesse Wright. The tight end on the right side jumping around was Elvin Bethea. We'll see whether he was off or drawn off.
Vinny and Jim, one thing that Hayden does exceedingly well is vary his cadence on 3rd down. That's when he draws them off on 3rd down. He's off. He's offside.
In fact, there were a couple of them. That was Culp.
You mean Hayden does that intentionally, right, George?
Defense.
Yes.
Down.
And Jim, he does it exceedingly well on 3rd down and
George,
long.
let me hear it again. How does it go?
Well, he goes hut, 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 hut.
The Oilers have a problem with that anyway. They've been doing it a lot this year, jumping offside.
Let's hear Hayden now. 3rd and 3. Almost had Culp moving again, and Hayden throwing out to the right side, complete. Terry Nelson made the catch, but he paid for it at the 45.
You said he paid for it, didn't he?
Paid the price.
Now, Terry Nelson, he does something that's very valuable when he catches this ball. He knows he's going to get hit. He has to go up, but he concentrates on the ball. He doesn't try to run. He holds his ground. That's very valuable for any kind of receiver.
The measurement, let's see if the Rams made it. They did. So just enough for the 1st down.
The other thing Terry Nelson did, he came back for the ball. He came into the ball.
Did you teach him that, George?
No, he knew that.
1st and 10 from the 48. 9:43 to go in the first quarter. No score. By the way, the Oilers have scored first in all of their 3 games, and the opposition has not scored in the first quarter this year. 1st and 10. Ram 48. 2nd man, Cullen Bryant. Nowhere to go. Young, along with Brazil, Heiner, and at the bottom, Bingham. Very active linebackers.
Physical linebackers.
57.
Now let's watch Kiner.
Bingham, Brazil.
Penetrates, comes in, makes a good hit.
We had Steve Kiner in Washington. When we got him, Vinny, he came in with a Greyhound bus. He owned a Greyhound bus, spent $40,000 for it.
He knew he was going to stay, right, George?
He slept in it.
So the Rams 2nd down and 9 from midfield. And again, that was Bethea jumping around. Jesse flipping out to Capoletti. Capoletti get away from Alexander, got across the 40, and it appears to be a flag thrown on the far side of the field, so hold everything.
Well, the Oilers let up. You can't let up when there's a flag. You never know what's going to be called.
Now, Capoletti, as we watch, well, we're not going to see that.
Defense.
That was
Decline.
Elvin Bethea again
First
jumping
down.
around. And there are a couple of Oilers who are down.
You see, Vinny, there's a tendency when a flag is dropped to let up. And that's the worst thing you can do, whether it's offense or defense. You never know what the call is going to be.
Elvin Bethea and Art Stringer. Stringer crawling off on his knees and getting up. But Bethea is still down. Elvin, 11 years out of North Carolina A&T. We'll take another look at that play, and maybe we can see the collision. Hayden moving his ball club from his own 38.
Vinny, I'd like to make a comment on Cappelletti. I started before. This guy is a great all-around player. He doesn't have speed, but watch his niftiness and his cutting ability. He's strong, he slides, he keeps low, he drops the shoulders there. That's the sign of a good back, although because he doesn't have speed, I can't call him a great back.
A bad tackle by Willie Alexander, and I'm sure Bum Phillips is very aware of that. Meanwhile, Bethea, who had 14 sacks and has been number one in that department, goes out hurt.
What I like about Cappelletti, he doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't beat you.
Well, you're absolutely right. Bryant and Cappelletti has not fumbled once this year, and that's a valuable asset.
Ray Malavasi, who has his Rams off 3-0. That's the best start since Chuck Knox had them win 6 in a row in 1973. And the Rams have it 1st and 10 on the Oiler 36. Miller wide left, Jesse right, flip back to Bryant with Cappelletti blocking, and that gets into the 30s. Cappelletti put a pretty good block on Greg Stemrick, number 27 of Houston.
See what Pat Hayden did that time? He went on a quick count. He went on sound, and the Oilers weren't quite set. They weren't ready. So his variance of his cadence has the Oilers on defense.
There's
Great block
Cappelletti.
there. Great move by Bryant. It wasn't a definite cut, but for his size, it was a good cut.
2nd and 3 from the 30 for the Rams. Miller left, Jesse right, Nelson the tight end on the left side. And it's still Cappelletti and Bryant. Cappelletti just down to the 25, so a pickup of 5 on the play. That's enough for a first down.
You know,
Andy Doris going underneath.
people talk about the Rams letting down. I don't see any letdown here. They're moving the ball very well against a tough defense.
Ball is just shy of the Houston 25. 1st and 10 Rams. 7:30 left to go in the first period. Same formation again. Jesse right, Miller left. Then they split Cappelletti and Bryant. Nelson on the right side and Hayden passing. And big man Terry Nelson took it away from Steve Kiner, and then Kiner wrapped him up.
Good call on first down, throwing the ball.
You watch Pat Hayden. Watch the definite release that he makes. Very sure of himself now. He's had a lot of success this year, and I think that he will finally be the great quarterback that he promised to be a couple of years ago.
It's difficult to throw those underneath patterns against a 34 defense with 4 linebackers.
2nd and 5 from the Oiler 20-yard line. Out of the eye with Bryant, the deep man. And it's Bryant carrying and almost on his own burrowing to about the 15-yard line, which makes it very close to another first down. Robert Brazil making the tackle.
They're blowing them out of there.
This drive started on the Ram 38, so they are moving well against the Oiler defense.
I think the fact that the Rams are throwing on first down, George, has a lot to do with their ability to run the ball.
That's good football. Now we got 2 tight ends in here. Charlie Young came in.
They spot the ball on the 16, so it's 3rd and 1.
You think there's going to be a run?
Charlie Young on a wing outside the other tight end, Terry Nelson. Up the middle goes Cullen Bryant, and it would appear as if he got over the 15-yard line before Curly Culp could bring him down.
Now notice how Bryant is carrying the ball. He is making sure that he does not fumble. He is definitely cradling the ball. He's pretty low, and he is driving forward. That's excellent.
1st and 10 Rams on the Oiler 14. Miller left, Jesse right, and Nelson on the left side now. And it is Cappelletti inside the 5-yard line. A quick handoff. It looked like Hayden was going to roll out.
Quick count.
Looks like Cappelletti is really ready today. I mean, he's got that positive attitude about running. This is a great hole. Makes a move. You watch his body position, the lean. He's really going for it today.
We go 2 tight ends. Miller and Jesse out.
First and goal from the 3-yard line. Charlie Young in there. Cappelletti and Bryant going all the way, and Young on the wing just off the right hip of Terry Nelson. And it's Cullen Bryant, and Bryant just crashing through for a touchdown.
All right, we have a ground level shot here. Watch the offensive line get off the ball. Bryant once again is covering the ball. He's a little high, but he's about 240. Keeps his legs moving, and that is why he was able to get into the end zone.
Boy, with his head, he was able to upend Curly Culp. So that was a marvelous 3 yards for Cullen Bryant.
They're blowing him right off the line of scrimmage.
4 minutes left in the first quarter. 6-0 Rams. Frank Corral trying to boot it through. He's 5 for 6, and now he's 6 for 7. So the Rams, much to the chagrin of Bum Phillips, go 62 yards, dominate play, and with 4 minutes to go in the first quarter, 7-0 Los Angeles. That's Billy White Shoes Johnson, a 15-round draft choice back in '74 out of Little Widener College outside of Philadelphia. 5 years of pro, and what an exciting returner. With him is Johnny Durden, who is leading the conference, averaging over 33 yards a return. And it's Billy Johnson from the 1 to the 10 to the 20, and decked by Jim Jodat, who turned it in. Say, friends, the CBS Sports Spectacular next Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 Central and Pacific, will feature the Woodward, the 25th running of the Woodward, live coverage from Belmont Park, second leg of the Fall Triple Crown for 3-year-olds and up. Of course, you know Seattle Slew defeated Affirmed in the Cup. Also, the World 3-Day Equestrian Championships, all coming up on the CBS Sports Spectacular next Saturday. 1st and 10 on the Oilers' 23-yard line. 7-0 Rams. Wilson and Campbell. Pastorini, a little flip to Tim Wilson, and he got it out across the 30, fumbled after the whistle. He put a pretty good fake on number 53, Jim Youngblood.
It's a good call. It cuts down on the rush. It's a check through. See, he has time to throw. Wilson weighs 220, and good hard runner.
But, George, the defense should never let 2 guys curl around like that. Both of the backs were open on that particular play.
Well, they're defending deeper, Jim.
2nd and 2, and that's Tim Wilson butting his way out to the 35-yard line. And in getting to the 35, he has picked up a first down as the Oilers now trying to come back. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or the use of the telecast without the express written consent of the Houston Oilers and the National Football League is prohibited. 1st and 10 for the Oilers on their 35. Renfro wide right, Ken Burrow wide left. Earl Campbell, a deep man out of the eye behind Tim Wilson. A play-action fake to Campbell. Youngblood was coming, so he still released to Campbell, and he's knocked down by Jack Reynolds.
Yeah. Now here, on this play, Youngblood dogs or gets fooled by the play action, and watch him hit Pastorini. Put the wood to him. Did a good job of getting rid of the ball and not being sacked. This is why the Oilers have to run the football first to cut down the rush.
2nd 11 from the Houston 34-yard line. Slot left, Renfro inside Burrow, and they split. In the backfield now you have Carpenter. Carpenter going with Campbell. Carpenter staying in the block, and then he gets a little release. Coming up is Jim Youngblood. Coming from the side to get him was Jack Youngblood. And he just about got back to the line of scrimmage.
That's what we call, Benny, a check flare. The back goes out, and the flat and stops, and the quarterback can look downfield or dump it off to him. Sort of a safety valve pass.
Pastorini's percentages coming into this game, almost 57% with 3 interceptions. But in offense, they are 12th in passing.
Nickel defense, 5 defensive backs.
3rd and 11 from the 34. Renfro is wide left, Burrow right. Billy Johnson is in a slot. And it might have been
right tackle, offensive tackle moved.
So the Oilers needed to get ahead of steam, and they're not going to get it.
Start. Offense.
So the Rams got the ball for the first time on their own 38 and march for the touchdown, and the Oilers are sputtering. Morris Towns on the right side came up out of his stance. He would be guilty of the infraction. So 3rd and 16 from the Oiler 29, 7-0 Rams, a little less than 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Pastorini having it go off the hands of Rod Perry. It was intended for Billy Johnson, and George Rod Perry has been playing great defensive ball for the Rams.
He has, Vinny, and one of the things that I think Rod Perry did in the off-season, he made every mini camp. He never missed a meeting, never missed a practice. He had the right attitude when the season started.
Now Cliff Parsley will be kicking. Jackie Wallace is all alone on the Ram 30-yard line. Parsley's been averaging 39 yards a kick. The second-year man out of Oklahoma State. So Parsley hanging it high for Wallace. Jack takes it on his 26. Leaps over Durden, but the leap slowed him up. It was a great effort by Johnny Durden, and then the rest of the Oilers got him.
The Oilers have good team speed on their special teams.
So the Rams are leading and feeling good about things in Houston. 7-0 Los Angeles, 140 in the first quarter.
This is a big series.
They call the cheerleaders the Derek Dog. Down here as the Rams take over on their own 29, 1st and 10. It's still Capoletti and Bryant coming up in a slot inside Jesse. Miller wide left. Capoletti outside Nelson, ran right on by Courier and spins to the 40. So Bill Courier, the safety, came up, number 20, and he just went right by him.
He came up at the wrong angle. He didn't force. He's a contained man. He came up at a 45-degree angle, and Capoletti went around.
You're absolutely right, George. He should have turned the play in.
The Oilers, this is a big series for the Oilers. If they let the Rams march down again, this game's going to be out of hand.
Well, it's 1st and 10 for the Rams on their own 42. Cullen Bryant stacked up before he could get to the 45-yard line. Robert Brazil, in the words of Bum Phillips, he loves the game, and that's the way he plays. Number 52.
Oh, he's a hitter.
Now, in watching Brazil, he gets a good hit here on Bryant, but that's because Bryant could not get low enough. His body position was too high, so consequently he was pushed backwards instead of falling forward.
Brazil's going to be one of the great linebackers in the game. He has everything going for him.
Ball just shy of the Ram 45. 2nd and 7. Miller left, G right. Nelson is on the right side, and it's a end around, but it was red and upended by number 59, Ted Washington.
Well, this
Good
was,
fake by Capoletti.
Washington was dogging on it. They had the right defense called for the play.
Was he dogging or dogging?
Let's see.
Sometimes when you're loafing, you catch plays like that, George.
And that 34, they always have one of those linebackers going.
So it is 3rd and 14. That was a big defensive play by Houston. 13 seconds to go in the first quarter. Jesse right, Miller left. And Jesse's going to go deep to the right side, and the pass to Nelson is broken up nicely by Robert Brazil. Boy, he's all over the field.
He's got the speed of a man that weighs 185 pounds. Watch him come over. There he is. Looked like he could intercept it.
This is a dangerous pass with that much yardage to get, isn't it, George?
Crossing patterns. Those are the type that can be picked off.
That could have been a touchdown for the Oilers.
That's a big lift for the Oilers now.
Glenn Walker will be punting from his own 25, and Billy Johnson standing on his own 20 for Houston. High snap, but Walker got it away. And let's see White Shoes now has to retreat to the 15. And he is dragged down, and a great effort by Ron Smith, number 84. Big play for the rookie out of San Diego State.
You have to get that first man down to get a punt return.
So that's the end of the first quarter here in the great indoors of Houston. 7-0 Los Angeles. Houston putting it in play. 1st and 10 on their own 14-yard line. You have Tim Wilson and Earl Campbell back of Pastorini. Johnson is wide left. Renfro in a slot inside Ken Burrow right. And it is Tim Wilson spinning as he got across the 15 and falling backwards out to about the 18. Question, George, when you have a back like Earl Campbell, do you fake with him more than use him actually with the ball?
Well, you can use him on misdirection plays, Vinny. That helps because most of the defense is going to key on him. You know you have to stop him. He's the type of guy that can play fullback or halfback. So that's a threat.
But, George, a lot of coaches won't use a great back if they're playing against a great defensive team. They'll try them out. If they don't do well, then they'll get away from them.
2nd and 6 from the 18. Johnson is left. It's the same formation. Pastorini going deep, intended for Johnson, overthrown. He had Elmendorf along with Isaiah Robertson in double coverage. Rams making it very tough for Dan Pastorini.
Fred Dreyer is playing better football. He's a good pass rusher. He's quick in getting off of the ball. See him keep coming, getting his arms up.
Freddie is slim and sleek, very quick.
3rd and 6 from the 18. The Oilers need a big play now to keep it alive. They've had to punt twice already. Rod Perry is going to pick up the slot man Renfro now on the left side. Pastorini looking right and throwing deep, and falling down on the pitcher's mound was Renfro, and that was the key.
Here's the pressure again. The fans got on Pastorini a little bit, but he's throwing off balance. He's rushed. There's no sack in the statistic, but watch right here.
The rush, as you say, George, made that pass incompleted because the receiver was open. I don't want to cut in on you, but
he
the
was
receiver
open.
was open.
There he is. He's wide open.
And Mike Renfro, you can see stumbling in the dirt. So Pastorini was trying to throw from the pitcher's mound, and Renfro fell down at second base. 4th and 6 from the 18, 7-0 Rams early in the second quarter. Cliff Parsley will be punting to Jackie Wallace on the Ram 40. And Wallace fumbles, and it's recovered by Houston, number 58. And we can take another look at that play immediately as David Potter, a backup center, number 58, made the fumble recovery.
Now, the key here is that Wallace is a new man back there. You can tell it by watching him.
They're going to miss Eddie Brown.
7-0 Rams.
Wallace jump for the ball.
A 19-yard run by Reuben Gant has given Buffalo a 7-0 lead over Baltimore in the first quarter with 5:40 left. Pittsburgh leading Cleveland 3-0. Roy Girella 19-yard field goal. And Miami leading Philadelphia 3-0. But the first big turn for Houston, a fumble recovery on the kickoff on the punt to Jackie Wallace. 1st and 10 on the Houston 48. Earl Campbell getting across midfield into Ram territory. And for the Oilers, that's the first time they've been able to do anything at all and get into Ram land.
Vinny, I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons we wanted Eddie Brown is that he's an all-pro punt returner. And there's a big break for the Oilers, mishandling a punt that should have given the Rams field position.
2nd and 6 on the Ram 48. Ken Burrow wide right, Castor the tight end on the left side, and it'll be Campbell grabbed from behind. And the fellow who wrapped him up was the middle linebacker, Jack Reynolds, number 64.
Well, there they are pounding the right side of the Rams defense. It's quite evident that that is their game plan. Run the right side.
Now, as we watch this, we'll realize that the Oilers aren't really giving Campbell a chance. I think they should give him something outside, give him a chance to go one or two ways, to use his individual ability. He only has one hole with this particular setup.
3rd and 5 on the Ram 47.
Nickel defense.
Burrow left, Castor is right, and Billy Johnson in the slot on the right side. Pastorini hard over Burrows, juggled and dropped, and it looked like an interception for the Rams by Dave Elmendorf, but he couldn't hold it, number 42.
The jam, Jim, we probably can't see it all the way, but they jammed the wide receiver, Burrows.
Held him up.
Kept him from getting downfield and almost resulted in interception.
And Pastorina tried to throw it to the Ram player, right?
And after Elmendorf almost intercepted, Nolan Cromwell almost picked it off, and it finally fell to the ground. For the 4th time, Cliff Parsley, second-year man out of Oklahoma State. His first time ever anybody led the Big 8 3 straight years in punting. He can kick them. Wallace and Cromwell deep for the Rams, and Parsley's kick is going to be fielded by Cromwell, and he drops to his knees at the 17. That was not a high spiraling kick. It was a very tough one to handle, George.
Yes, it was.
So Ray Malavasi has brought his Rams to Houston, and with 12:34 in the second, he's leading 7-0. 1st and 10 on the Rams 17. Billy Waddy in street clothes, looking on as the Rams put it in play. 12:34 to go in the second quarter. Play action fake to Jodat. Jesse throwing to Terry Nelson, who makes the catch at the Ram 30. They pick up 13, and it's a first down. Bill Courier making the tackle.
Good call. Good play action fake.
You know, but speaking of Billy Waddy, it's unfortunate that he got hurt, but he gave Miller a chance, and this is a great receiver for the Rams.
Oh, Miller can do it all.
The backs for the Rams, as you see, Willie Miller in a slot inside Jesse Wright. Jodat and Phillips, and here's Phillips with Jodat blocking, and he hurdles out to about the 33-yard line. He had Hara and Nelson blocking for him, and Ted Washington made the tackle.
You know, the fans here have been very quiet. One year we played here, Vinny, and they were quiet like this, and then there was an incident where Brazil hit Kilmer late. It excited the fans, and you can't hear yourself think.
And what happened in the game, George? Did you win it or lose it?
They eventually beat us 13-10.
Uh-oh.
But the fans set them off.
2nd and 7 for the Rams on their own 33. Miller inside Jesse. They shake Terry Nelson loose to the left side on a draw to Phillips. He gets out across the 35. So Rod Phillips, 4-year man out of Jackson State, spelling Capoletti.
We have both Jodat and Phillips. And if you'll notice the Ram ball carriers, the reason that they don't fumble much is because they keep 2 hands on the ball. Now, when you have 2 hands on the ball, you lose a lot of maneuverability. So it's you do or you don't.
The Oilers bring in 2 linebackers that are a little more mobile and better on the drop in this situation. 53 and 51, Stringer and Thompson.
3rd and 4 for the Rams on their own 36. Hayden getting a good block from Dennis Hara, throws to Miller. He took it away from Courier, and he's at the 40 and down to the Houston 38. Willie Alexander finally making the tackle, but Miller just stole the ball on Bill Courier, the 2nd-year man out of South Carolina, number 20.
Courier made a bad move on this. I think he went for the interception. We can see his position. Well, no, he didn't. He did the best he could.
Yeah, he didn't have good position to break it up. And Willie followed the ball all the way in, which he usually does. It was a well-executed pass.
As we said, Willie Miller is an outstanding receiver. even though he's 31 years old, George.
He'd be just about right for the Redskins.
That's right.
1st and 10 on the Oiler 38. This drive started on the Ram 17. Jim Jodat trying to follow Phillips, and he ran into Curly Culp. End of run.
Well, Curly Culp has been the key to this defense. He's been their pass rusher, their leading tackler. And when he's playing good ball, like he usually is, that's when their defense is tough.
Well, he hasn't really been rushing the passer this year, George. I think this might be his best game so far.
No, he hasn't, Jim. That's true.
2nd and 11 on the Oiler 39. 7-0 Rams. 9.5 left to the half. Pitch back to Jodat. Brings him across the 30 and down to the 20-yard line. Rod Phillips put a good block to open the door for him.
Quick count. Pat is mixing his cadence beautifully. He's going long count, intermediate, and quick. That time he caught him waiting.
Well, the good thing about the Rams' backs is that all of them will block.
Now they're all tough.
Early scored, the New York Jets leading Washington 3-0. New Orleans 7, Cincinnati 3 in the second quarter. And Buffalo 14, Baltimore nothing in the first. 1st and 10 for the Rams, and there goes Phillips running into Kiner, and down he goes. Steve Kiner, an 8-year man out of Tennessee.
I don't think Houston or anyone thought the Rams offense could move like this against this good Oiler defense.
You know, this Oiler defense, which is unheralded, we're talking about great backs. 6 times O.J. Simpson has run against them, and he has never gained more than 60 yards in a game. And in his last 2 against Houston, he totaled only 10 yards.
There's a bad D, Vinny.
Needless to say. 2nd and 6 from the 17. And Hayden deep into the end zone to Nelson, broken up. Mike Reinfeldt, 3-year man out of Wisconsin.
Now, Nelson is an outstanding end. But on this play, I feel that he should have come back to the ball and make a jumping contest out of it.
Hayden had good protection there.
Reinfeldt is 6'2", and he's battling the tight end Nelson, same, so Ray Malavasi thought he had a touchdown getaway on that play.
3rd and 6 now.
Still on the 17. The drive started on the Rams 17. 8 minutes to go to the half. 7-0 Los Angeles. Miller inside Jesse Wright. Hayden's going to put it up again. And he completes it on a great catch by Miller. And going down with him is Stemrick.
Yeah, the Oilers had a safety blitz there.
Now let's watch Miller's position on this catch. In my opinion, it's perfect. Goes up, stretches, catches the ball, and comes down. Beautiful.
1st and goal on the Oiler 9. Miller is wide left this time, and the first man is Rod Phillips. And he got down to about the 7-yard line. Whittington came up in a safety blitz, but bounced off him.
Again, on this first play, Hayden went on a quick count, went on sound.
The Rams have done very well against the AFC. They've won 8 of their last 9. In fact, they've only played Houston once, beat them in a wild 31-26 game back in 1973. But the Rams have the 3rd best NFC record against the AFC, 16-7. Their 2nd and goal from the 7. Jodat staying into block, and Hayden throwing high and out of sight. And the reason was he had to try and throw it over that left side, and they were just too tall. Brazil was there,
and he was
watch
covered.
him.
He was covered. He had him covered. He did the smart thing, throw it away. Don't risk an interception. There it is. Real high. Good. That made him reload and overthrow.
Brazil is 6'4". He was the man you saw with his arms fully extended. He was on the NFL defensive rookie team in 1975, and he figures to be a great one. 3rd and goal from the 7. 7-0 Rams. Capoletti back in there with Jodat. Back staying into block. Hayden scrambling. Got it away and threw it to Dallas. He had a lot of heat
Another
from Washington. Ted Washington putting heat on him, number 59.
Yeah, this is a safety blitz, Vinny, and Hayden did a good job of scrambling, getting away, and not getting hit for a loss.
And he threw it far enough so that nobody could get it. That keeps them in position for the field goal.
Ted Washington was a 17th round draft choice for Kansas City a few years ago, and he's just made the key defensive play. So 4th and goal. The ball will be spotted by Nolan Cromwell on the 15 for Frank Corral. His 25-yard field goal is good, and so Corral now is 5 out of 7 for field goals. And the Rams are sitting on top of a 10-0 lead with 6 minutes and 39 seconds left to go to the half. Billy Johnson can change the field position faster than anyone else except the officials. Who said it? His coach, Bum Phillips.
Well, it hasn't happened today.
Not yet. He's back there with Johnny Durden, number 81. And here's Corral kicking off. And it will be Billy from the 5 to the 20 to the 25. And again, as he hit the pitcher's mound, he began to stumble and just go forward.
Well, the Rams special teams have done a job on him to date.
George, I think you should know a little about that.
Well, they had a lot of good work in July and in August, and
But
they've
you've
worked
always
hard.
felt that the special teams are an integral part of this game.
Well, Benny, if you don't have good special teams, you're going to get beat.
And you've made everybody aware of that, because now most coaches who never talked about it are talking about it.
Well, the Rams leading 10-0. See Houston take over, 1st and 10 on their own 25. Play action fake to Campbell. Jack Youngblood pressing, and they have a screen on the left side to Rob Carpenter. He busted away from Jim Youngblood. What a tremendous effort by Rob Carpenter, one-year man out of Miami of Ohio.
This is a well-executed play. You let the lineman come in, you set up. Now the blockers got out and they threw, which allowed Carpenter to drop his shoulder and run on his own, and he did a great job of it.
Well, instead of tackling, there were 2 blocks thrown at him that allowed him to go on for extra yardage.
Rod Perry and Jim Youngblood blocked him, and he got away.
Well,
So he moved it out to the 46.
You don't block good backs.
1st and 10 on the 46, a pickup of 21 yards on the screen to Rob Carpenter. Play action fake to Campbell. Pastorini going deep to Carpenter. And Carpenter is inside the 20-yard line.
A great call, well executed. That's the weakness of that particular defense. They're in a double coverage. They double cover both outsides, and down the middle is open. Boy, he made a good catch. He stayed with the ball. The ball was fluttering.
So Dante Pastorini, this might very well be Dante's Inferno. About as receive-os, they can outrun any coverage, and I can outthrow any coverage.
Well,
Mr. P.
They completed, but it looked a little shaky.
1st and 10 on the Ram 18, Houston's deepest penetration. Pastorini asking for quiet. Flip to Campbell, and Campbell carrying people to the 15-yard line. Bill Elmendorf riding him down with Isaiah Robertson.
You know, Vinny, we think of Campbell as a fullback, but he's always a tailback. He's always a halfback in their offense. However, he can play either position.
As I said earlier, George, they should give him more outside stuff to let him use all of his natural ability. It's very difficult to do that up the middle. You need great blocking in the middle. You don't need great blocking on the outside.
2nd and 8 on the Ram 15. Carpenter has made things click. He's in there with Earl Campbell. Pastorini looking over the middle, out of the hands of Billy Johnson. Elmendorf defending.
The ball was thrown a little bit behind him. You have to drill that right in. Here it is. Watch the ball. It's just a little bit behind. You see that?
And that's probably the toughest catch in football.
It is. Coming over the middle.
Well, that's another problem.
Here comes 21 in. Cromwell. Nickel defense.
There you can see in 3rd down conversions, Houston is pitching a no-hitter. They're 0 for 5.
They need one here to get back in the game.
3rd and 8 on the Ram 15. Carpenter and Campbell back of Pastorini. Johnson left, Burrow right, Castor in a slot right. And the flip intended for Castor, but he was attending a Ram meeting.
And Pastorini was rushed. He threw off balance. He's complaining about the jam that the receiver was hit. See that push by 53 Youngblood, Jim Youngblood? That's what Pastorini's complaining about. It was beyond the 5 yards, Vinny.
The chuck, of course, has become so important. And Tony Fritsch, 7-year veteran out of Austria, who has played in the past with San Diego and Dallas. Tony kicked a field goal in the first game he ever saw. He kicked 2, in fact, from 45 and 49. This will be a 32-yard field goal attempt. Tony Fritsch kicks it up and good. And it took a while, but the Oilers have hit a well and pick up 3. We have 4 minutes and 21 seconds to go to the half. The Rams 10 and the Oilers 3. Well, Derek Dahl starting to cheer the Oilers a little bit. It's 10-3 in favor of the Rams. Tony Fritsch kicking off, and deep from the Rams, Jerry Lattin standing on the goal line. Lattin comes up to his 5, to the 15, to the 20, fumbled, and let's see, the Rams recovered. And it would appear to be Dan Reisig who dropped on it and saved the bacon for Los Angeles. Dan Reisig.
Sometimes when you accelerate, you can fumble, but that tackle was right on the arm. He was actually stripped.
Lattin has had a little problem with fumbling when he was with St. Louis.
Well, I would have had a problem with that particular tackle.
So the Rams putting it in play, 1st and 10 on their own 26-yard line. Jesse on a wing, and they split Cullen Bryant and Capoletti. Miller is left, and there goes Bryant, and he is upended by Whittington. C.L. Whittington, a 5-year man out of Prairie View, number 38, and he hit him with both numbers.
Now, that's usually the way the Oilers play defense. Very physical. Penetration, getting across, 2nd and 11.
And break somebody's ankles.
That C.L. Whittington, who just made that tackle, was signed while he was a high school coach. 2nd and 11 from the Ram 25. Jesse is right, Miller left. Nelson, the tight end, on the left side. Hayden intended for Nelson, too many people, and Robert Brazil put a little extra pressure coming across, so Pat threw it away.
The Rams' offensive line to date has done a fine job of blocking for Pat, giving him time to throw. They're also coming off the ball, moving it on the ground, so Hayden is in control.
One thing, though, George, last year, Pat Hayden was intercepted only 6 times all year. So far, in 3 games, he's been intercepted 4 times this year. 3rd and 11 from the Ram 25. Jesse is right, Miller left. Nelson, the tight end, on the right side. Capoletti and Bryant behind Hayden. Bryant staying in to block. Hayden down to the right side, off the hands of Jesse. No good.
The Oilers ran a stunt to rush the quarterback. The Rams picked it up real well. Watch it. We call that a tex.
This is a lot of time for Hayden to have. This ball was thrown just a little too high, but he had a lot of great protection.
So there's Billy White Shoes Johnson going deep to his own 35. Glenn Walker has had troubles with returns this year. He didn't have any trouble last year, but this year the Rams have been hurt. Walker kicking from his 15-yard line, making Johnson backtrack. Takes it at his own 22. Chased by Osteen. Boxed in by Phillips. Now up the left side. And out of bounds.
Beautiful.
And the man who got him out of bounds was McLean.
Beautiful.
Otherwise, White Shoes busted it.
Oh, he's excited.
So we have 3 minutes and 8 seconds to go to the half. Don't go away. Rams 10 and the Oilers 3.
Kmart's Arrestor, a very inexpensive way to lock away noise.
Let's look at those dancing feet of Billy White Shoes.
Now, this is something that you can't coach, and you don't want too many people doing it unless they are like Billy White Shoes.
Kevin
Great individual
McLean
effort.
finally came over to knock him out of bounds, or else. So 1st and 10 on the Oiler 43. Burrow is left. Castor right. Barber is the tight end on the right side. Carpenter is the up back. Campbell the deep back. Campbell with Carpenter blocking Isaiah Robertson. And he's in the Ram territory and still on his feet to the Ram 40-yard line.
Jim,
Bill Simpson is hurt for the Rams.
here we go. Running the right side of the Ram defense. Giving the ball to the best back. This is what the game plan was from the start. Good, powerful running.
Now you notice Campbell palmed the football. That is when you get in the open and you want to get ultimate speed.
If you back that replay up, that's Bill Simpson. He met Earl Campbell head on, and that's the result. Watch number 48 meet 34.
Watch
now,
the shoulder.
Boom.
The shoulder got under the defensive man, and when you do that, you strike the blow.
He had the leverage. He had the good leverage. Watch Bill Simpson come right up off the ground. See that?
Earl Campbell is only one of 3 backs in NFL history to gain over 100 yards in his first 2 games, and this gives you an idea from the side of the concussion.
That's how you get sore ribs and a sore sternum.
Robert Newhouse with size and speed and quickness.
The other 2 backs who did it, as Ray Malavasi definitely concerned now, the other 2 backs who did it, Zolly Toth of the Yankees, Alan Amici of Baltimore in 55. By the way, a reminder, friends, another sport, another time. Next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the World Series of Golf live from the Firestone Country Club in Akron, Ohio. Heading the field will be Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Lanny Watkins, Bruce Litsky, Andy North. It should be a dandy. As Commissioner Dean Beeman says, the logical conclusion to the PGA Tour, the World Series of Golf, next weekend, right here on CBS Sports. So Bill Simpson got the wrath of Earl Campbell. Of course, they told a story of Campbell in college running out of bounds and crashing into the mascot, which happened to be a pretty good heavy size of beef, and Campbell knocked that steer backwards a few feet, so it figured he would shake up a mere human being, Bill Simpson.
Bill Simpson's a real competitor. He comes to play. He's tough.
He's also only 180 pounds, and Campbell at 224 and running downhill really decked him.
And he's going to have to get lower.
Well, that's the whole thing. He was too high, and he took the blow.
1st and 10 Oilers on the move at the Ram 41, 3 minutes to the half. Burrow right, Castor in a slot. Here comes Campbell, and there goes Campbell across the 35 to the 34.
Same area, same play.
Pickup of 6. It should be 2nd and 4.
Quick counts, too. Did you notice that? All on quick counts before the Rams can get set on defense.
You watch the positive attitude of Earl Campbell's body when he runs the ball. You know he is trying to gain yardage. A lot of backs do not have that positive attitude.
2nd and 4 from the 35 with 2.5 to go to the half. And whoop, Youngblood was moving, and let's see if he was drawn off.
Well, they're going to call it on the Oilers. The left side of the Oilers line is a little stronger.
Offense.
That's what comes from going on quick counts. You do that too much, your line moves on the first sound they hear.
You know, the Oilers have a very young offensive line, and you need a lot of finesse and experience. They have a couple of 2-year men up there in Reiner and Towns, along with the tight end Mike Barber, and that's not much experience to go against such an experienced defensive team. 2:27 as you see in the upper right-hand corner, 2nd and 9 on the Ram 40. Campbell behind Carpenter. And it'll be Campbell. Campbell got a block from Reiner. That's George Reiner, but it wasn't enough. He did the best he could with it.
You know something, George? I always go contrary to what people say. They say that a great line makes a great back. I say a great back makes a great line. What do you think?
No question, Jim. I saw it in Chicago. One year our offensive line was being criticized. The next year we brought in Gale Sayers, and everybody said, boy, what a great job the offensive line's doing.
A 2-minute warning now as we look at Bum Phillips, 25 and 20 since he came here to Houston, but it's Rams 10-3.
You know me. Of course you do. I am money. Your money. You work for me. So hard. What's so funny? You should have me working for you.
An IDS representative can get tough with money. Put it to work with a personalized financial plan. We've done it for 80 years for business and for people just like you. IDS. We help people manage money.
The 1978 Ford Pinto. With standard features like these, it's packed with value. A 2.3-liter engine, a 4-speed transmission, rack and pinion steering, power front disc brakes, electric defroster, AM radio, tinted glass and bucket seats. And since the 77 model year, redesigned fuel system features that include a longer filler pipe and polyethylene shield. Ford Pinto, over 2.5 million sold since introduction. Ford Pinto, a complete small car.
The Oilers in possession, 3rd and 6 on the Ram 37. The Rams leading 10-3 with 2 minutes to the half. Castor wide right, Burrow left. Johnson on a wing back of Barber, and Ronnie Coleman is now in there behind Pastorini. Coleman 47. Pastorini with a lot of time. He's got Barber. He took it away from Jim Youngblood. Fumble. The Rams have recovered the ball at their own 15. Mike Barber caught it, fumbled, and the Rams recover. And it was Dave Elmendorf, number 42, who recovered the ball, I believe.
Well, he didn't put the ball away.
And this is an example of a ball carrier trying to get too much. There's 1:57 left.
Right.
They've got great field position. He's struggling, of course. It's positive. But you must protect the ball in that situation because you can at least get a touchdown or a field goal.
He didn't put the ball away. It was a well-executed play.
It was a pretty good strip by Jim Youngblood, too, that started that fumble. 1st and 10 on the 16 for the Rams. Cullen Bryant following John Capoletti, and he lands just about on top of Capoletti. As they run out the clock with 1:42, George, do you think?
Here's what I like to do. Is use your timeouts, even if you have to sacrifice all of them. Force the Rams to punt. Either go for a block punt or with a guy like White Shoes return the ball.
Ray Malavasi talking to his team with 1:24 to go to the half. 2nd and 6 for the Rams on their own 20. 10-3 Rams. Capoletti. Robert Brazil along with Greg Bingham and others making the tackle. 1:08 to go.
Well, the Rams picked up a 1st down, so the timeouts aren't going to be a factor.
Ray Malavasi, 48 years old, come November 8th. Spent 23 years coaching, including in Canada. He has the Rams 3-0 and in possession and leading. 1st and 10 from the 27. And Hayden flipping out to Capoletti. They build a screen on the right side, and Harrop trying to put a block on Willie Alexander, but Alexander fought it off just long enough to knock down the screen.
Yes, that play was, that's part of the 2-minute offense. It's a good, safe call here. You have a chance for a long gainer. You can run out of bounds, stop the clock. You're throwing it to a good receiver like Capoletti, who was a smart runner.
And that's probably why Capoletti did not take the inside route, which had better blocking. That is why he took the outside route, which would look to be the wrong route to most of our viewers.
2nd and 8 from the 29 with 34 seconds to the half. Miller is left, Jesse right. Hayden with Capoletti staying in the block, and he's going deep, and it'll be incomplete, intended for Miller. Reinfeldt and Stemrick right there with him in double coverage.
What happened on that, Jim, is Hayden went back to pass. He slipped, lost his balance.
And Miller didn't think the ball was coming.
This place would be a madhouse if Barber had held on to that pass.
Hey, it's a football game. I mean, that was a key situation, but they're still in the ball game.
Very much so.
These spots where the infield is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd base are very dangerous. One year, we played a game here, and Mike Bass, our defensive back, slipped and fell, and they got a touchdown on us.
Another problem about playing indoors. 3rd and 8 from the Ram 29 with 28 seconds to the half. Miller left, Jesse right, and they split Bryant and Capoletti. This time it's Capoletti. And Stemrick came up, fought the block by Tom Mack and made the tackle with Brazil right there. That's a marvelous play. There's Bill Simpson, who was shaken up in that collision with Earl Campbell, and evidently a slightly sprained knee, but it would look as if he is assuring the folks that he's okay and able to play.
They will be talking about that in the dressing room for weeks, believe me.
Yes, the Oilers used their timeout, which was good. Now they have the decision whether to go for a punt block or return it. With a guy like White Shoes, he's so dangerous. Anytime he gets his hands on the ball, he can go all the way.
Bum Phillips. When he came here, the Oiler record was 9-33, and since he's been there, it's 25-20. So he has brought new life to this football team. 4th and 9 for the Rams on the 28. Glenn Walker.
Looks like they're going after it, Benny.
Well, the Oilers with 10 men on the line. And they're trying to get to him, but he got it away. And now Billy Whiteshoes standing on his 29. Down after him is Phillips. And down he goes. Kevin McLean, number 50, made the tackle to bring him down. We have 11 seconds with the clock stopped. 1st and 10 on the Oiler 33. Dan Pastorini can wind up and throw the ball, I guess, as far as anybody. In the Pro Bowl 2 years ago, he threw a 64-yard touchdown pass to Kenny Burrow, 0-0, and we haven't seen 0-0 in a pass yet.
They've been jamming him, holding him up on the line of scrimmage. Nickel defense for the Rams.
Houston with 2 timeouts left. 1st and 10 on their own 33. Campbell and Carpenter back to Pastorini. A little release to Carpenter, and is he ever decked? So Carpenter, reaching for the ball, was belted by Isaiah Robertson, and Rob Carpenter is shaken up. The clock would appear to have run out. Isaiah really got a lick there.
He jammed 0-0 and then came up and covered the front zone.
So that's the first half here in Houston. The Rams 10 and the Oilers 3.
One, two. They made a brand new tape, as you can see.
New MRX3 Oxide from Memorex.
See, the sound so true, my dears, you won't believe your ears.
MRX3 Oxide makes the difference.
You get higher highs and even lower lows. Is it free or me? Nobody knows.
Now, more than ever, we can ask, is it live or is it Memorex?
Hey, your muffler! Midas-size it!
Why put up with a noisy muffler?
Better Midas-size!
Midas-size it!
Midas-size your car and you'll never buy a muffler for it again. Because at Midas, if anything ever goes wrong, we'll replace the muffler free for as long as you own your American-made car. Noisy muffler? Don't compromise.
Midas-size.
Think you can't afford great stereo? Think again. Think of JCPenney's new MCS Series 33-watt system. Think of an incredible everyday saving of $230 when you purchase the 33-watt system as a package. Think of getting $829 worth of magnificent sound components for only $600. JCPenney's MCS Series 33-watt system. Think of the sound. Think of the service. Think of the savings. You won't have to think again.
The upsets, the comebacks, the heartbreakers, the record breakers. These are the moments that make sports spectacular. And this is where they happen. CBS Sports Spectacular. Next Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports Spectacular presents the second leg of the Fall Triple Crown, the Woodward, with an expected rematch of Affirmed and Seattle Slew. You'll also see taped coverage of the equestrian 3-day event World Championships. You'll say, you saw it on CBS Sports.
Back in New York, I'm Brent Mushberger, and our producer down in Houston, Bob Stenner, tells us that Rob Carpenter is okay. He left the field under his own power. I have some more details now on the tragic death of Lyman Bostock, the young outfielder for the California Angels. In case you're not aware of the story, he was shot and killed last night in Gary, Indiana. He was visiting an uncle. He was riding in an automobile with his uncle and a Mrs. Smith at the time of the shooting. It now turns out that a gunman who pulled up alongside of the car and shot Bostock apparently was attempting to kill his estranged wife. She is in fair condition at this hour in the hospital. She later identified the man who has been arrested. His name is Leonard Smith, and the Gary, Indiana police now are emphasizing that they know of absolutely no relationship between Mrs. Smith and Lyman. Both apparently were dinner guests at Lyman's uncle's house that night, and they were taking Lyman back to Chicago, where the Angels had a game scheduled against the Chicago White Sox. So at the age of 27, Lyman Bostock is dead, and what a senseless tragedy it apparently is. Now, let's go around the NFL and get you up to date on the scores. We have Cincinnati leading New Orleans 13-7. That is in the second quarter. The game, of course, you are watching from the Houston Astrodome. The unbeaten Los Angeles Rams lead the Oilers 10-3 in the second quarter. Baltimore coming back against Buffalo. Chuck Knox trying to win today. It's 21-14 right now. Buffalo leading Baltimore. And in an upset so far, Cleveland ahead of Pittsburgh. It's been a tough defensive game. That's in the second quarter. Philadelphia ahead of the Miami Dolphins, 7-3. That game is at the half. And down in Washington, the unbeaten Redskins marching, leading the Jets 10-3 in the second quarter. And Denver and Kansas City are underway, and they are tied at 7 in the first.
And who is going to win college football's Heisman Trophy? Usually goes to the leading offensive player on a winning team. Last year, Earl Campbell of Texas had it wrapped up from the start. But this year, well, it's wide open, and Brent takes a look at some of the candidates.
Jane, being a quarterback at Notre Dame is an automatic plus. Joe Montana following in the tracks of Johnny Lou Jack, Paul Hornung, Johnny Hewitt. But yesterday, he was sidetracked in the second half by the Michigan Wolverines. And before it was over, Michigan had beaten Notre Dame and Montana 28-14. Joe is now 0-2. Another position, rich in tradition, tailback at SC, but Charles White fumbled inside the 5 against Alabama. But White, the next time he handled the ball, exploded for 40 yards and a USC touchdown as they upset Alabama. And before the game was over, the Trojans' White had run for 197 yards, and look out, O.J. Simpson, he's our favorite. Other candidates for the Heisman include number 7, quarterback Rick Leach of Michigan. He has led the Wolverines to victories over Illinois and Notre Dame. Penn State's candidate is quarterback Chuck Fusina, who rallied the Nittany Lions in the second half as they defeated SMU. And in Oklahoma, they are raving about number 6, quarterback Thomas Lott. This is action from an earlier Stanford game. Yesterday, Lott and Oklahoma exploded for 66 points against Rice. And Jane, of all the candidates, Lott may be the most confident. He said, I may just back right into this Heisman Trophy. And the NFL today will continue with some highlights on CBS in just a moment after these messages from your local stations.
Plan to be here for a star-studded 2-hour salute to American imagination, Thursday, October 5th on CBS.
Irv, you've been impressed with the Rams so far?
Very much, Ben. You know, the Houston Oilers have a real tough defensive club, and the Rams have been able to move the ball on the ground. They lead at halftime by a score of 10-3, and Cullen Bryant is the man who draws first blood here as he goes in from the 3-yard line in the first quarter. The Rams take an early 7-0 lead. Pat Hayden had a pretty good day throwing the ball, too, Brent. Here he goes outside to number 82, Willie Miller, who takes the ball from Hayden and tiptoes along the sideline for a 26-yard game, which led to a field goal for a 10-0 lead. But the guy who's been a real surprise is right here, Rob Carpenter, a running back out of Miami of Ohio who was drafted by the Houston Oilers in the 3rd round last year, is having a pretty good day, and he sets up a field goal position for the Oilers. Pastorini going to the air to Rob Carpenter, who's having, as I said before, a big day. He takes the ball inside, but at halftime, the Rams lead 10-3.
Irv, it was interesting looking at your highlights. Every time Pastorini was going back to pass, number 85, Jack Youngblood, was in on top of him. He's coming off a tremendous game against Dallas. He has got a shot to be the player of the year if he keeps it up the way he has so far on that defensive line. Let's now check in on some Cincinnati plays against New Orleans. Here's John Reeves filling in for the injured Kenny Anderson, going to Pete Johnson, the former Ohio State fullback. He carried it to the Saints' 44. Reeves himself will get to the 24, and on this play, it set up a Chris Barr field goal, 3-0 Bengals. Archie Manning playing well this year. Here he is going to Tinker Owens. Owens, of course, the brother of Steve Owens, both played down at Oklahoma. Owens to the 43-yard line. And it's that combination again, Manning to Owens. Some said that Tinker might not be strong enough to play in the NFL. Look at that, struggling to the 20. Now, Strawn got the touchdown here for the Saints, and it was 7-3 New Orleans after the extra point. Manning about to be hit by Reggie Williams. Archie trying to get free, and the ball is stripped from him right there and recovered by the Bengals, and that set up this touchdown. Reeves to Tom Bass in the second quarter. Cincinnati is now ahead 13-10, and that game is at the half. And right now, let's go back down to the Houston Astrodome, and here's Vin Scully. Vin?
It's halftime in the great indoors in Houston, with the Rams leading the Oilers 10-3. But for a fumble after a pass reception by Mike Barber, however, it could very well be knotted up. A reminder, all 3 Oiler games this year have been decided by less than 7 points, so don't go wandering off.
A man who works with his hands is a proud man, proud of a lot of things, including his car. And one thing he can do for that car is add STP oil treatment. Over 40 million cans went into America's engines last year, and that makes STP the #1 choice of the men who work with their hands. Smile, cousin, you're on TV. Yeah, for my car, it's STP.
3 unidentified 19-inch color TV pictures, each the best of its brand. Over 1,000 people saw them and picked the one with the best overall picture. They didn't pick America's biggest seller, Zenith, or the second biggest, RCA. Over 60% picked the 19-inch Sylvania Superset. Over 60%. We're not the biggest, but a lot of people think we've got the best picture. The Sylvania Superset.
That's me, Bill Simpson, with my teammates, the Los Angeles Rams. And this is my wife, Lynn.
And we'd like to show you Hollywood, one of the places that makes Los Angeles a magical city.
Motion pictures have made this the dream capital of the world. From the sound stages to the back lots, movie stars have made make-believe an escape for millions. But for the 3 million people who live here, their lives are very real. For some, their story is just beginning.
Here at Holy Family Services, homeless babies are cared for until their real parents are ready for them, or a good home can be found. You can walk away from a sad movie, but you just can't walk away from these infants.
Seeing this agency, I realize that through our United Way, we can help shape the real story of somebody's life, at least the beginning. And that's important. United Way works in Los Angeles.
It works in your town, too. Thanks to you, it works for all of us, the United Way.
The preceding announcement was brought to you as a public service by the National Football League. Halftime in Houston. Hi, everybody. Here in the broadcasting booth, I'm Vin Scully, along with George Allen and Jim Brown. Gentlemen, while we have a moment, the key to the first half, Mike Barber caught the pass and fumbled. Jim Youngblood apparently stripped him. Tell me about that play. That couldn't have been by accident, Coach.
Jim has a drill. We've used a drill over the years at the start of practice where you'll give the football to 3 or 4 different backs.
I got a football here.
And go for the elbow, and you can still make the tackle and jar the ball loose. Usually good defensive teams will also lead the league in forcing fumbles.
And the Rams, of course, got the fumble just when they needed it. Jim, as a carrier who didn't fumble much, you had a key role as far as protecting the ball.
Yeah, that's very true. In that particular situation, the back should have realized they had the first down, great field position, and cover the ball. Take a few less yards.
If I'm going to tackle you and you have the ball, how do you cover it?
Well, I'm going to do this.
About 2 hands.
This arm is going to do anything to me?
Well, this arm covers over.
You're not going to hit me with that arm.
Not at all.
Well, if Mike Barber had held on to the ball, not only would the Oilers have had a first down, this place might be a madhouse. And, George, you mentioned that the crowd here in the Astrodome figures prominently in affecting the ball players.
They do. Once this crowd gets on fire, it affects the ball club. Now, they haven't had much chance to yell, and the acoustics here are such that when they start yelling, you can't hear yourself think.
Well, there are the Houston Oilers as they are first to come back on the field. And in a few moments, we'll be getting underway to the second half. A couple of numbers as the Rams now come out. First of all, Pastorini, 7 out of 14 for 91 yards. Hayden is 7 for 14 for 72 yards. Earl Campbell, as you look at the overall statistics, Campbell has carried 8 times for 38 yards. For the Rams, Cappelletti, 5 for 35. Phillips 4 for 12, Bryant 10 for 25, and Jodat 2 for 17. In looking at all of these numbers, George, what's the one set of stats that really means something?
Well, first of all, third downs, which is on there. The Oilers have not had a 3rd and 1 situation in the first half, and secondly, the Oilers haven't picked up the crucial first down on 3rd down. And the Rams have.
Interesting to notice the difference. Houston is leading the Rams in passing, and things have changed for the Rams. Last year, they passed 44% of the time.
Wow.
Going into this game, they passed 65% of the time. It's a totally different offense.
This year, Pat Hayden and Charlie Waller's doing a good job working with the offense. They're mixing their calls more. They're throwing on first down. They're going play action, waggles, rollouts, sprint outs. The Rams offense is not stereotyped, and Pat Hayden has gotten better every week.
Well, we will see now if the Oilers can shake the effects of that big play and the resultant fumble and Ram recovery, and whether they can rise to the heights. As we had mentioned earlier, they've come from behind for their 2 victories, and all 3 of their games have been decided by less than 7 points. So they keep you busy. The Rams, a great start, 3 victories, no losses, as we look at Earl Campbell. Earl, you've looked at him for a half. Jimmy, what do you think of him?
Well, I'll tell you, it doesn't take me long, Vinny. This guy is a great ball carrier. He has everything from the standpoint of a runner. He gets low, he has speed, he has acceleration, and he can carry the ball in the palm of his hands and know exactly what he's doing. It's not dangerous when he does it. It gives him that extra speed. He has everything.
I think from a coaching standpoint, what I like about him, Jim, is he has a great attitude. He wants to improve. He'll work hard.
Definitely. And he's a Christian, George.
Is about ready to kick off on the Oiler 35. The Rams deep Jerry Latin on the goal line. Jodat is short to the right. And it'll be Jerry Latin at the 5, to the 20, across the 25, down to the 28, and there's a flag on the play. Rucker, Thompson, and Durden all brought him down.
Well, it could be a late hit or it could be a clip.
Personal foul and a clip.
It's a clip.
And it's against Houston. So immediately,
that's against the Rams.
Well, let's check. Yeah, against the Rams on the clip. Excuse me. So for the first time, the Rams do not necessarily have good field position.
Vinny and Jim, you've heard me say this. The first series on offense of the second half and the first series on defense are vital right here. You come out of the locker room all steamed up, ready to go. If the defense can stop them right here, give the Oiler offense good position.
Personal foul, clipping, 59 on the run back.
Now they're raring to go. If the Rams move the football down the field and score, kick a field goal, the Rams are still in charge.
The clip charge against Bob Brzezinski, and now the Rams 1st and 10 on their own 14. That's the toughest field position they've had today. Bryant behind Cappelletti. And it'll be Cappelletti, and he just about got to the 15. Jim Young coming up to hit him.
Actually, the Oilers haven't had the advantage of the home field yet, Vinny. The fans have just been so-so.
In looking at Ram position, they started drives on their own 38. They also had it at the 17, which was their poorest. And, of course, for Houston, they had one big drive and then had the fumble. 2nd and 9 from the 15. Hayden looking left and then going over the middle to Terry Nelson, the tight end, and he carries it out to the 40-yard line. Steve Kiner finally helping to bring him down at the 40. A pickup of 26 and a first down.
First of all, Pat has good protection. He reads the defense, and he sees the tight end wide open. The Oilers didn't play the defense properly. One of the linebackers should be going to the strong hook, and Terry Nelson gets a big first down.
So the Rams pick up the first down on their own 40, getting away from the goalpost. Miller is left and Jesse right. Nelson is on the left side. Capoletti with a block by Bryant. And Kiner had to throw a block to even slow him down as he fell forward. Reinfeldt finally going on top of him, about 1.5 yards to 2 yards shy of the first down.
The Rams have taken charge this first series on offense. So important in winning this ball game. Quick count.
They picked up 8, so it's 2nd and 2 from the 48. Miller left. Jesse in close now on the right side. Jodat is in there with Capoletti. And it's Jodat. And he got away from the tackle attempt by Washington. Picked up the first down, and he's down close to the 43. Ted Washington might have had him, number 59, behind the line of scrimmage.
Jodat. Jim Jodat is what we call an all-around football player. He's very fast. He's fast, and a lot of people realize that's the sign of a good back, when you can break a hand tackle, an arm tackle. You're not supposed to get tackled by anyone's arms.
Well,
he's cutting back against the flow, which is good sometimes, but in that case, not so good.
He's a slashing type of runner. He'll break tackles the way he runs.
1st and 10 on the Houston 42. Play action fake to Jodat, and the pass is to the tight end. And Terry Nelson battling to the 16-yard line before Reinfeldt brought him down with Courier on top.
Good call, good play action. Split the seam of the defense.
George, why is it that Terry Nelson is suddenly figuring? Why is the tight end suddenly being used so much?
You take what the defense gives you, Vinny. The defense has given them that. We call that a short corner by Y, by the tight end, by Terry Nelson. And by the way, Hayden is reading his keys real well.
They picked up 26 to Terry Nelson. They just picked up another 26 to him.
Looking the defense off.
1st and 10 on the Oilers 16. Jodat going wide and upended fumbles. However, the Rams try. It is bobbled a 3rd time. And Houston has recovered.
You know,
the fellow who made the recovery is Greg Stemrick, 4-year man out of Colorado State. Number 27, and Bum Phillips has dodged a bullet that time.
That was a big play for the Oilers. Jodat spins and twists and tries to make the extra yardage. You're going to fumble once in a while.
So the Oilers recover the fumble and will put it in play 1st and 10 from their own 24. Rams 10-3.
Here's to good friends.
Here he comes.
Tonight is kind of special.
Hey, we almost gave up and sent out for Pete's. Sorry. All I could get were lobsters and Lowenbrow. All I could get were lobsters and Lowenbrow. Well, it's the last party of the summer. I figured I'd shoot the works.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
Well, like the song says, here's to good friends.
Up here, the cold is brutal, but what better place to tell you about Peak antifreeze and coolant. Peak is liquid armor against sub-zero cold, against rust, against corrosion. This winter buy Peak protection, because nothing tops Peak. Nothing.
Pat Hayden soaking his right hand in an ice bucket. Meanwhile, the Oilers take over 1st and 10 on their own 25-yard line. Tim Wilson is in there now. Campbell, the deep back. And it'll be Earl Campbell with Wilson blocking. Inside, Isaiah Robinson still on his feet. Oh, what a run to the 35.
They're still running at the right side of the Ram defense.
They got inside Isaiah Robertson then.
Here it is.
Now, Earl Campbell, being the great back that I said he was, follows his interference, makes a little outside move, accelerates, drops that shoulder, keeps the legs moving, and fall forward. The Rams are going to know about him when this game is over.
No penetration by the Rams defense.
1st and 10 on the 35. And Campbell will go the other way now. With Wilson blocking, he's across, and a good gutsy tackle by Isaiah that time to knock him down at the 40.
When you run Campbell wide, you give him the options.
Isaiah did a good job of pursuing on this. If he doesn't come over and meet him at the crossroads, watch Isaiah coming across there.
In fact, it's a great one-on-one tackle.
Look at the yardage.
So Earl Campbell moves it across the 41-yard line. He's now gained 56 yards in 10 carries. 2nd and 4 from the 41. Here comes Wilson with Campbell throwing the block. And Wilson is still shy of the 1st down. Campbell to a pretty good block on Isaiah Robertson, who was dogging.
Well, the coaches think he's a complete football player. Let's watch his block on Freddie Dwyer. He did. We call that a bin block. Or Larry Brooks.
George, he pointed out to me on the telephone that he wants to be an all-around player. He wants to be able to block too. And that's the great sign of an attitude.
3rd and 2 on the Houston 43. Here comes Campbell. Wilson out in front. And he just broke a hand tackle by Dave Elmendorf and picked up the 1st down.
On his own. On his own. Again, pounding that right side of the Ram defense. Quick counts.
Now, when we say a great back makes an offensive line, when I talk about greatness, now watch this tackle. He keeps running. He's running over people. He will run over his own men if they do not get out of the way. So for a back like that, when you're playing line, you're never going to relax. You always feel that he is coming. That's what makes a great offensive line.
Earl Campbell lost his shirt, so Ronnie Coleman has had to come in while they suit him up again. There's Earl putting on a new 34. 1st and 10 from the 49. And it'll be Ronnie Coleman. And he's belted as he gets across midfield.
You know, Jim, the Oilers have more depth in their backfield than they've had in quite some time. They can substitute and keep fresh backs. Here's an example right here. Coleman's a good back.
Great point, because Carpenter came in and gave them a lift, just like you said, Vinny.
Yeah, you're right. And Earl, I'm looking at that 34, immediately think that's a pretty prominent number. Greg Pruitt in Cleveland, Walter Payton in Chicago, and now Earl Campbell in Houston.
I'd want him in there right now. Get in there. Hurry up. Get in there.
2nd and 6 from the 47 of the Rams. Houston on a move. Play action fake. Pastorini down the right side, and there's a flag on the play. The pass was completed to Billy Johnson. And a flag as the completion takes it down to the 38. Earl Campbell returning, but we're going to wait. I think it's on the right side of the Houston offensive line.
That is. You know, the left side of that, here it is. Good call, well executed.
Yeah, perfect time for play action because they've been running the ball well. The Rams have to look out for the run. The play action holds them. The pass is completed. There's a flag on the field.
Right tackle. Offense. That's what happens when you go on quick counts, when you go on sound. Somebody moves.
That's the 2nd time right tackle Morris Towns, who's only a 2-year man out of Missouri, has been guilty. So it's 2nd and 11 on the Houston 48. Billy Johnson wide right, Ken Burrow left. We haven't seen Burrow handle the ball yet. Pastorini going to dump it to Campbell. And on his own, he moves, finally dragged down by Larry Brooks.
Now we talk about quickness. When Campbell gets this ball, his quickness is what allows him to gain yardage. If that was a slower back, they would have never gained any yardage. The move to the outside, the cut back to the inside, up the seam, the continual use of the legs allowed him to get that gain.
That's that flare stop that they like with a back like Campbell. They can always dump it off to him.
On the Ram 46, Third and about 5 for the Oilers. Johnson in a slot inside Burrow right. Pastorini looking right, throwing down there and overshoots Johnson. Rod Perry was right there to defend. And flattened is Dante Pastorini.
See, you don't see that in the statistics, but the quarterback's on his back. Again, not coming through in the third down. Critical situation.
Jack Youngblood leading his Rams off the field. Tony Fritsch and Cliff Parsley. The kicking game has been so very important, and now it's Cliff Parsley coming in to punt the ball on the Ram 46, and Parsley will be kicking from his own 43. Deep, Jackie Wallace and Nolan Cromwell for the Rams. Parsley trying to kick it out of bounds deep and didn't really do it.
Bad kick, short kick.
Bad kick going out at about, looks like they're talking around the 30-yard line.
Every play is the ball game. Every play is the ball game.
Parsley has kicked only 2 inside the 20 this year. 10-3 Rams.
Since the very first automobile was made in America, more than 2,500 new cars have been introduced. But the best-selling new car ever introduced is this one, Ford Fairmont. Fairmont has great EPA mileage estimates unsurpassed by any midsize car and the lowest sticker price of any car in its class. In fact, Fairmont has the most room for the money of any car. Ford Fairmont, the best-selling new car ever introduced. Sedans, wagons, exciting Futuras. See them all at your local Ford dealer.
Homeward bound, coast of New England. The Navy. See a recruiter or call toll-free. It's not just a job, it's an adventure.
Ray Malavasi talking with the officials. 1st and 10 Rams from their own 31. So we'll see if they can take advantage of a poor punt from Cliff Parsley. Rams leading 10-3. Cullen Bryant with Dennis Harrah leading the way. Capoletti trying to hand block, and he got across the 35. Capoletti had his hands full just pushing.
Now, not to be critical of Bryant, but if you watch Cullen make this cut, you will realize the difference between a good back and a great back. He makes a curve on the corner, which slows him down. He gets low, which is good. But a guy like Cullen has a very difficult time making a cut like an Earl Campbell can make.
2nd and 4 on the Ram 37. Jesse right, Miller left. And it's Capoletti fighting across the 40 and might have fallen forward for the first down.
Now, Capoletti, who is a very good all-around football player, has better cutting ability than Bryant. He gets everything out of this particular play. I say that if Capoletti had more speed and Bryant was more nifty, they would both be much better.
Well, John Capoletti fought his way for the first down on the Ram 42-yard line. Capoletti so far has carried 8 times for 49 yards. Rams leading 10-3, 5:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. Here comes Bryant wide. That's a strange play, Coach. If you watch on the replay, Dennis Harrah was supposed to block number 60, but Harrah couldn't catch up to Bryant.
Well, again, it's a quick count. It's designed to go outside. And the back got ahead of the
couldn't catch
the pulling lineman.
That must be very discouraging. Harrah at 257 is trying to keep up with him.
Well, if Bryant was smart, he would let him get in front.
Use your blockers.
2nd and 10 from the Ram 43. Miller left, Jesse right, Nelson the tight end on the right side. And it's going to be to Capoletti. And it's a pretty good block by Harrah that was almost a clip, but the block opened it up for the first down.
This is really great offensive football. It's safe. It's a check-off pass. You set up your blocking. Capoletti is a guy that uses his blockers now. See him cut back underneath.
But something I'd like to point out is that 61 and 65, they were going a little too slow. They should have gotten out there fast, and if they had thrown, Capoletti could have made his moves much better.
And you're talking about Rick Saul, number 61, and Tom Mack, 65.
Yes, Vinny.
1st and 10 on the Houston 46. Here comes Cullen Bryant. He's short of the 40, but the Rams moving. Remember, after the punt, they started on their own 31. Kiner and Courier making the tackle. In another world, the New York Yankees trying to hold on and beat the Red Sox. They're tied 3-3 with Toronto in the 4th inning. 2nd and 6 on the Houston 42. 3:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. Capoletti with Bryant putting a block on Brazil and a couple of hard yards. Boy, that's a collision. Cullen Bryant blocking Robert Brazil. You could hear it all the way in Los Angeles.
You know, Capoletti does what we call pick a hole. So he starts up inside, then he slides outside. Pick a hole running. Always going forward.
3rd and 1. The Red Sox and Cleveland, no score in the 3rd. The ball on the Houston 37-yard line. Charlie Young is in there now on the wing just outside Terry Nelson on the right side. And it's Bryant pounding for the 1st down, and he's gotten it. So Cullen Bryant grinding it out.
Jim, not many clubs have run on the Oilers like this.
I'll tell you, last week, the Rams' offensive line played a tremendous game. They met those Dallas defensive stars head-to-head and won that battle, and I think this is a carryover from that game.
1st and 10 on the Houston 35. Dwight Scales is in there now, wide right. Miller left. Hayden looking left and going over to Miller, who does an Al Jolson and makes the reception at the 25-yard line. Stemrick over there to defend. He didn't like it.
Good call by Pat. Quick count. 1-on-1. 12-yard out.
Stemrick is a little angry, a little frustrated at this point.
Yeah, he has to touch him. He can get up and run. Yeah, he caught the ball between his knees.
The ball is between the knees. 2nd and 1 from the 26. Rod Phillips battling and crawling to the 20. They'll probably mark it before that, however, and it's a 1st down.
That was a good spin by Phillips. In other words, if he did not spin, he probably would not have gained a yard. But because he did spin, he was able to gain a few yards and get a 1st down.
Jackie Slater coming out. Doug France is back in there. 1st and 10 for the Rams on the Houston 21-yard line. And as you can see, 3-1 in 1st downs, 18-6. Scales wide right, Miller left, Nelson the tight end right side, Phillips and Bryant back of Hayden. Hayden releasing to Phillips. He got a block from Hara, then by Saul, and he fumbles. It is picked up by Sampson, but I believe after the whistle.
Yeah, they blew him dead.
Sampson first picked it up and gave it to Reinfeldt, but they'll call it back.
Now here's the first noise the crowd's made today.
Now,
that same play.
Phillips on this particular play does a good job at contact, but here is where a great back would accelerate. The acceleration might allow him to split the seam.
That was a quick whistle. That was a quick whistle. That's a break for the Rams. Because he fumbled as he was going down, as he hit the AstroTurf.
And Mike Reinfeldt was away with it, but it's blown dead. 2nd and 1 on the Houston 12. Capoletti upended. He fumbled, but Bryant fell on it, and that might have been after the whistle. Good hit by Ken Kennard, second-year man out of Angelo State, number 71.
We watch the defensive line here. They are charging low. We call that a submarine. In other words, it's very difficult to run through it. You can jump over it. When you see a back jump, sometimes because the defensive line is submarining.
The defensive ends on that last one took an inside charge and have inside responsibility.
As you can see, the measurement, they need that much for a first down. The crowd a little sullen and angry over the fumble callback.
Two tight ends.
Miller and Scales come out. Charlie Young is in there with Terry Nelson. And there's the crowd, mean, sullen, and bordering on mutinous here. 10-3 Rams, 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. 3rd and 1, and the Rams have been converting, and the Oilers have not. From the 12. That's Cappelletti. And you tell me how they can ever figure whether you've gained the yard or not.
It's a judgment thing, Vinny.
Blind judgment.
You're absolutely
The fewer
right.
judgment calls you have in pro football, the better.
Okay, first down. 1st and 10 on the Houston 11. Remember, this drive started after the poor punt by Cliff Parsley gave the Rams 1st and 10 on their own 31, and they have traveled down to the Houston 11. The Oilers stubborn, but they're behind with 9 seconds and going down of the third quarter, 10-3 Rams. Cappelletti and Bryant behind Hayden, and it's Bryant. Mack is pulled to lead the way, but he goes the other way, and there's nobody there but blue shirts.
Great pursuit, and the strong side, the onside, got across. Penetration, that's how you stop sweeps.
So 3 quarters are history here in Houston. And for the moment, the Rams 10, Houston 3.
This computer is the brain behind an extraordinary game from Parker Brothers, codename Sector. You use the computer to track down an unseen sub. The sub uses the computer to escape and counterattack. Your mission, be the first ship to sink the enemy sub.
Range 10, speed 9, firing range, depth 3, fire. All right.
Codename Sector, the board game where you match wits with a computer.
When you fly on business, you pay full fare. And on American Airlines, you get what you pay for. Introducing a special coach section for full fare passengers only, so your seatmate will be a full fare passenger. And when we have empty seats, most of them will be in this section. At last, you'll get the full fare treatment you deserve. On American, you get what you pay for.
We're American Airlines, doing what we do best.
Ron Liebman and Patrick O'Neill star in the exciting premiere of Kaz.
I'm going to have to ask that all of this be put back on the record.
I'll settle with you later.
Premiering Sunday at 10, 9 Central and Mountain.
The Rams, leading 10-3, have it 2nd and 11 on the Houston 12-yard line. Both clubs appeared to be a little listless walking down the field, George.
Vinny, I like our players to jog from one section to the other. We have a statement that only the mailman walks. You jog.
Well, there was a lot of walking, a lot of mail delivered then. It's 2nd and 11 from the 12. Bryant, the deep back behind Cappelletti. Hayden bothered but got away. Throws on the run and it's batted down. Brazil and Bryant were there, and a lot of heat was put on him by Art Stringer, number 53. It was Stringer who really messed up the play for Hayden.
But actually, this is great coverage on the part of the Oilers. Hayden had a lot of time.
Hayden did a good job of not getting sacked here and taking a loss.
Now notice the time that he has. That means one thing, that those defensive backs are really covering the receivers.
That's Stringer.
I don't like to see a man leave his feet and jump up like that. If he hadn't done that, he maybe could have sacked him.
All right, it's 3rd and 11 from the 12. Jesse is right. The Oilers are moving around up front. Hayden lobbing out of state and knocked out by Alexander.
Flag on the field.
There's a flag, and it could be the cadence of Hayden drew him offside again.
That whole front was moving.
That's that.
I think it's against the Rams.
Good leap by Willie Alexander. He's 6'3" out of Alcorn, and he really climbed a ladder to knock that one away.
They were offside, and he got back. but it looks like it is going to be against the Rams. No, it isn't.
They're spotting the ball back on the line of scrimmage, which is the 12, so let's listen.
Holding, number 75, offense, declined, 4th down.
So the dentist, John Williams, was caught holding, and Bum Phillips has seen his club stiffen. Remember, it was 1st and 10 on the 11. It wound up 3rd and 11 on the 12, and so now 4th and 11 from the 12. In a 10-3 game, Nolan Cromwell will hold. He'll spot the ball on the 19, and Frank Corral will be asked to kick his 2nd field goal of the day. It would be a 29-yard effort. And it's blocked. Blocked and picked up by Alexander. Cromwell trying to fight him to the sideline, and finally Nolan Cromwell knocks him out of bounds at the 45-yard line of Los Angeles. Willie Alexander picked it up.
George Allen, this is what you teach. Great special team play.
Beautiful layout, good technique on the block. This is what sets your team on fire and turns it around. Now Pastorini has to take over.
That's why you were a great coach, Coach.
How good is the investment information at your investment firm? Maybe it depends on the firm.
I think the market analysis group at our firm is top.
We have research in municipal bonds. We have it in corporate bonds, tax shelters.
We have access to opinions on over 1,000 securities within 2 minutes.
Who offers this kind of in-depth investment information? You know who.
If I die tomorrow, it means I'll die in good health. Well, the Oilers are in good health. 1st and 10 on the Ram 45. Burrow left, Renfro right. Barber, the tight end, on the right side. Carpenter and Campbell are the backs, and there goes play action to Campbell. And Pastorini on a bomb down the left side to Burrow. No good. Ken Burrow on Rod Perry.
That's just what we predicted, Jimmy.
Exactly what you predicted, Coach.
After a turnover, give him play action. Put Burrows, your big, tall receiver. Send him deep. Here he goes. He's lulling them to sleep. He's waltzing right there. Now he'll turn it on. He's got a height advantage over Perry. He was open. He underthrew him.
George, I'm going to interrupt you because you wouldn't say it, but George told the director to isolate on Burrow, figured he would go against the smaller man, Perry, and it's exactly what happened. Coach, nice call. 2nd and 10 on the Ram 45. The implacable Bum Phillips looking on. Mike Barber, a tight end, is shaken loose wide left. Billy Johnson is in a slot right inside Burrow, and it's still Carpenter and Campbell. And this time, play action to Campbell, down the middle, complete to Mike Barber. He's the fellow who fumbled earlier, and he's not going to fumble this time to the Ram 20.
Jim, I like a guy that fights for extra yardage after the catch.
I love him to fight too,
boy. Look at this.
It's a beautifully thrown pass.
Crossing pattern against the zone is always good. You go from one zone to another.
Now, fighting here can be very dangerous because that gives the defense a chance to hit the ball out of
for
your
the
hand.
ball, as long as you protect the ball.
1st and 10 for the Oilers. Recovering that block kick. They're down to the Ram 22. Just the start of the 4th quarter. 10-3 Los Angeles. And here goes Earl Campbell. He knocked Robertson on his back.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, what a runner.
Oh.
They're going wild in Houston. Everybody's happy.
I'm going wild up here.
Beautiful running. Power.
Ran over Robertson.
Tremendous.
The Rams are still thinking that they are playing Tony Dorsett.
Boy, did he hit Robertson.
Earl Campbell is strong, and he will put his shoulders into your chest.
1st and goal on the Rams 6, and this crowd is noisy now. Carpenter and Ronnie Coleman. Johnson in a slot inside Burrow left. Barber's on the right side, the tight end. Ronnie Coleman inside the 5. 2nd time today, Johnson.
There comes Campbell back in.
Earl Campbell had to put on another shirt.
Sledgehammer running.
Boy, what a runner. He, so far today, has carried 12 times for 75 yards, and he leads the NFL in torn shirts.
Second down.
And goal from the 3. 10-3 Rams, and they are hanging on now. Carpenter and Campbell. Castor is the tight end on the wing just outside Barber. Castor in motion. Earl Campbell running around Elmendorf, and he can't get around him. Elmendorf gave him a pretty good shove to keep him there.
Yeah, he didn't have a chance on that.
Here he's coming right at you.
The Rams' defensive line did a great job because they strung it out. They kept Campbell going wide, wide, wide. He could not make that cut.
Elmendorf made the play. He turned him in, got across, which is...
However, down on the field in that collision would appear to be Earl Campbell on that play. So it's a quiet moment in Houston. We'll return after this word from your local station. Well, there's the franchise, Earl Campbell, shaken up as Elmendorf pushed him out of bounds. Jack Reynolds landed rolling over on top of him. So it's 3rd and goal from the 3. In motion is Castor. Play action fake to Coleman. Pass in the end zone to Barber. No good. Defending was Jim Youngblood.
Barber did a good job on this play because he came back for the ball. Now, as we watch it, play action fake, which was a good call. Coach said they should have made this one. The ball is lobbed. He comes back, but he misses.
Yeah, misjudged the ball.
He did everything but catch it.
It is 4th and goal from the 3. Tony Fritsch is in there, but Dan Pastorini is the holder. Coach, you wouldn't be surprised if Pastorini came up out of the hole to pass, or would you think they'd go for the field goal?
12 minutes, Vinny, I'd go for the 3 points.
All right, Pastorini will spot it on the 10. It's a 20-yard field goal attempt by Tony Fritsch. And he kicked it through. So the Rams' lead has been cut because of the blocked field goal and the Houston recovery and run back by Willie Alexander. It is the Rams 10, Houston 6 with 12 minutes left to go in this one. Rams leading Houston 10-6, 12 minutes and 9 seconds left in the game. Tony Fritsch kicking off. Jerry Latin is deep on the goal line with Joe Dad and Phillips back there to help out. Latin on the 4. To the 25, 30, and almost got away. J.C. Wilson, number 33, just did get him at the ankles. A question. Going into this game, the story would be the Rams would suffer a letdown. Have they let down, do you think, and if so, in what area?
They're playing well. They haven't let down. In fact, the Oilers, I think, are quite fortunate that they're still in because the Rams have controlled the ball.
Well, George, I don't think they're fortunate. I think they're playing great football. They are close because they are playing good football.
Well, they got to stop them on the ground if they're going to give their offense some field position.
Capoletti into a crowd. And the last man we saw disappearing after Brazil went under was Alvin Bethea on top, number 65. Capoletti has carried the ball a dozen times. Cullen Bryant has carried it 15. Capoletti has picked up 59 yards and Bryant 38. 2nd and 8 on the 36.
These Oiler linebackers hit you from all sides. They pursue well. They're very physical.
Jodat, the deep man out of the eye. Miller is left, Jesse right. Tight end Nelson on the right side. Jodat inside Nelson block, but he's dragged down. Good tackle by Ted Washington, number 59.
They side Ted is a free agent, Vinny.
Boy, he looks good.
Kiner was a free agent. 2 of the 4 are free agents. They're all tough.
Ted Washington, number 59 for Houston. 6-year man out of Mississippi Valley. A 17th round draft choice by Kansas City, signed by the Jets, and playing very well here for Houston. 3rd and 5 on the Ram 39. Rams lead 10-6, 10:49 left to go in the game.
Big down here.
Miller left, Jesse right, and over the middle for Miller. He's wrapped up by Stemrick, and that should be enough. It's more than enough for the first down. So Hayden was 12 for 21 and 163 yards, and he comes up with a pivotal pass completion.
Hayden had the ball snapped, quick count, before the Oiler defense was set to rush the passer. He's been going on a long count on third down. That time he went on a quick count, went on sound.
Willie Miller, being an intelligent receiver, made sure he got the first down yardage and that he caught the ball.
1st and 10 on the Ram 49. Miller comes this way, and Jesse at the top of your screen. Jodat behind Capoletti. And it's Capoletti. Washington turned the play inside, and Capoletti still carried to the Houston 45.
Did that on his own.
Boy,
that's
good
the
play.
Capoletti style. He slides, and he slides.
When Washington turns him in, how come he got through all those linemen?
Well,
Because
he cut back.
He cut back, and he went against the grain, and he has that ability to keep his balance and slide. And he also is getting that shoulder down much slower now.
He's got that good peripheral vision, Vinny, that he can see where there's an opening.
That's why he was great in college.
9:48 left. Rams 10-6 over Houston. Baseball score, the Yankees 2, Cleveland 0 in the 3rd inning. And the Red Sox tied with Toronto 3-3 in the 5th. It's 2nd and 5 for the Rams on the Houston 45. 9.5 minutes left to go in the game. The Rams leading 10-6. Second man, Jim Jodak. Dennis Harrah throwing the block, and he's a fumble. Houston has recovered. It was picked up by Greg Bingham, number 54, a 6-year man out of Purdue.
Well, that's quite a break. Quite a break for the Oilers.
All right, watch Harrah on this play as he pulls out. Kicks the block out. Jodat accelerates, moves through the hole.
Helmet on the ball.
You said it was a helmet on the ball, George? That's what knocked it loose, huh? It's unfortunate.
You know,
a lot of football left, as the numbers tell you. 9:24.
James Young went out of the game, Vinny.
Yes, he hurt his leg. It appeared to be a muscle cramp in the back of the right leg. In this instance, another shakeup, and that's Elvin Bethea going out for the 2nd time today, being hurt.
What a fine defensive end he is. He can do it all.
Bum Phillips standing on the sidelines.
Bum's has done a heck of a job here.
You know, Bum Phillips made an interesting quote. He said, "I don't coach the players. I coach the coaches, and the coaches coach the players." Is that the way you ran things?
No, not quite, but that's all right.
You mean there's room, George?
Yeah. You know, this James Young, Jim, 2 years ago, he tried out for the Redskins as a fullback. Now he's a defensive end.
Must be a great athlete, George.
He is.
1st and 10, Houston on their own 33. Ronnie Coleman is the deep back. In there with him is Tim Wilson, and here's Ronnie Coleman spinning to the 40, and then the Rams gang up on him. And there's a few angry people down there. Pat Thomas, and he was annoyed with Conway Heyman. He shouldn't be. Pat Thomas compared, well, he looks like something that fell out of Heyman's pocket.
As we watch this is a good move. Different style than Campbell, of course, but a good move.
Gave an elbow.
Pat Thomas is 180 pounds. Conway Heyman is at least 260. All right, 2nd and 2 from the 41 of Houston. 8:45 left in the game. 10-6 Rams. Wilson didn't get it. He appeared not to have any traction at all.
One of the reasons that they run to the Rams' right and their left is that their best linemen are over there.
In other words, it's not a Ram weakness.
Right. Sampson and Reiner are their 2 best offensive linemen. That's their strength.
Earl Campbell getting his left thigh taped and also getting a respite because it's been heavy going for him. There you can see the tape job. 3rd and 2 on the 41. Big play. Wilson and Coleman out of the eye. Castor just off the wing of Barber as a 2nd tight end. There goes Castor in motion. Coleman, and he got it. 1st down. Got to the 45.
Jim, I like to see a back go over the top like that.
When should a back go over the top, George?
Short yardage. I like the way he did that. Coleman.
Absolutely right. If you watch the Rams defensive line, they all charge low, which allows the back to go over the top.
They need 34 back in here, just for the threat.
Definitely.
First and 10 on the Houston 45. Remember, they recovered the fumble on their own 33. Billy White Shoes Johnson inside Burrow in a slot right. Barber, the tight end, on the left side. Wilson and Coleman, the running back. Pastorini going for the bomb, and it's Burrow. It was picked up by Pat Thomas. So the interception by Pat Thomas.
Pat Thomas is a smart defensive back. He can jump. He plays the ball well. He's physical. He's a lot like Pat Fisher. Real tough competitor.
So the Rams get over their own fumble and come back to lead 10-6. That picture just about tells it all, except the Ram possession. First and 10 on their 10. Cullen Bryant, the deep man, and Cullen's carrying. Capoletti tried to lead the way, but in that 3-4 defense, all of a sudden there are a lot of people coming at you.
Well, they're stunning on every play. There's a linebacker coming, Vinny. It's a difficult defense to block because you never know who's coming.
And deep in their own territory, Cullen Bryant was playing it safe then. Sometimes the back don't run as hard when they're deep in their own territory.
And he had two hands on the ball, Jim.
Yes, he did. They don't fumble much, which is great.
Second and 7 from the 13. Cullen Bryant, and what a play by Bob Brazil. What a play by number 52. Oh.
It was predetermined. Now watch 52, Brazil. He's dogging. It's predetermined. Puts him right in the hole.
But he took a pretty good block on his own side and still made the tackle.
It's very difficult for a back to do anything in a situation like that because the defense is on you so fast.
The defense is on offense on that type of play.
That's right. They're all in the backfield.
6'4", 238, four-year man out of Jackson State, Robert Brazil. Tremendous player. Third and 11 from the 9.
Quick count.
Hayden cranking up, throwing to Miller, and he goes down, but he made the first down, and that's the key at the 25-yard line.
No pass rush, great pass protection. Either way you want to look at it.
You know, when you talk about Pat Hayden, in this game, he has made some very key third down plays, and that's the sign of a good quarterback.
That usually ends up the name of the game, third down.
Yes, it does.
Well, first and 10. The ball on the Ram 25-yard line as they move it out from the interception that had it on the 10. Ray Malavasi watching his horde, trying to keep a perfect record intact. Capoletti with Bryant, and some pretty good moves by Big John. He was dazzling there with a couple of sharp footsteps.
Big John has been reading the papers. He has been criticized because of his speed. Today, I believe he is faster. Great cut.
He had nice hold on the read there.
In fact, he went in the air, sidestepped a man, and gained about 4 more yards.
He's got good balance, good footwork.
Second and 2 on the 28 before standing room only. 49,216 here Dome. Jim Jodat into a pile. You know, in honor of Bum Phillips and the change here in Houston, we should mention with 4:28 left, this is the 15th time they've had a sellout here since Phillips took over. Before then, it was an empty village.
That's great. He's given them an exciting football and winning football.
They say he wears cowboy boots on the golf course with spikes on them.
But he doesn't wear his cowboy hat because he said, my mama told me never to wear my hat indoors.
Indoors.
Clock's ticking away.
4 minutes left. It's first and 10 on the Ram 36. Rams leading by 4, 10-6. Jesse in the slot inside Miller. There goes Capoletti trying to get around Terry Nelson. But Nelson is one man and there were 5 over there.
What's great about this drive is that they're running out the clock, Vinny. It's very key right now. They're 4 points ahead. It's going to take a touchdown, so it's great that they have good runners, solid runners who can hold the ball.
They won't throw unless they have to. They're putting the pressure on Pastorini.
Just about back to the line of scrimmage, so it's second and 10 on the Ram 36. 3:22 left in the game. Jesse right, Miller left, Jodat and Capoletti split behind Hayden. And he's going to throw, but just a little release to Capoletti. And the play that you call safe, George, gets it out to the 40.
Very safe. You don't get sacked on that, even if your protection breaks down.
3rd and 6 from the 40. 250, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner. Well, the Oilers have 1-2 coming from behind. It looked like they were going to tie it up, but they had to settle for a field goal with 12 minutes left. And now, because they had to settle, that might be the difference.
There it is.
6 from the 40.
There it is.
Miller left, Jesse right. Nelson on the right side. And Hayden to Capoletti. And Capoletti is taken down in Houston territory.
You see,
and that puts a lot.
Houston's playing great football in this series on 1st and 2nd down. On 3rd down, the protection is giving Hayden the time to throw, and there's
Hayden
somebody open.
Is definitely throwing.
So they're going to have to dog if that situation comes up again.
Pat Hayden is telling offensive captain Tom Mack and telling the coach to take him out and give him a breather. So Ed Fulton will take over for the 13-year veteran Tom Mack out of Michigan. Ed Fulton, a first-year man from Maryland, is number 68, taking his place. 1st and 10 from the Houston 47. Capoletti, boy, what a workhorse he's been today. That'll be his 16th carry, and he had 73 yards prior to it. There's Tom Mack, and evidently just taking a breather.
He's all right.
He's 34 years old. He could use a breather. By the way, Capoletti has carried for 75 yards in 16 carries, and Campbell 77 yards in 13 carries. So the Heisman Award winners are neck and neck.
That's right.
The Oilers did something that's smart. They took a timeout, which will make the Rams put the ball in play one more time before the 2-minute period.
The key situation in this last quarter is the fact that Earl Campbell was hurt and not in that particular drive.
That's a good point, Jim.
Of course, I think the key situation as far as the Oilers' defense is concerned is that Hayden has had the time to throw and pick up these crucial 3rd down passes, Benny.
2nd and 8 from the 45 of Houston. Hayden has been very hot. 16 for 25, 207 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions.
Here's where you get a lot of suggestions. I always like to, after we get all the suggestions, I always like to ask the quarterback, what do you like here? What do you feel that you have confidence in? And then most of the time I'll go with that because he has the feel of the game. Unless we have something real positive that we know has a chance to be successful.
Well, George, they say that the Ram team represents the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, meaning that there's a little bit of George Allen, Chuck Knox, and Malavasi.
There's Earl Campbell, and you can see that left thigh heavily taped. And without Campbell, of course, they don't get that inspirational lift. And, of course, right now they don't get the ball. It's 2nd and 8 on the Houston 45. 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. 10-6 Rams. Hayden on a roll, being chased by Brazil. Bob Brazil, he's everywhere, number 52. Now, what kind of a play call was that, Coach?
Well, I think he figured he's got what we call a bootleg type of pass or run, and they were dogging. 52 was coming in there, and it didn't fool him.
Does Hayden throw particularly well running to his left?
Not as well to his left, but he can. He can throw either way. That type of play, it's either good for a long gain or you lose like that.
They lost. It's 3rd and 15, and of course Bum now is talking to Pastorini about getting the ball one last time and defeating that stubborn Ram defense. Pastorini has thrown 9 for 20 for 120 yards, no touchdowns, and he had one key interception just moments ago. And again, Hayden is huddling.
Right. The interesting thing here to me right now, thinking defensively, is how many men are we going to rush? If he's going to throw the ball, if we rush with 3, we haven't gotten in there. We've given him too much time. I think that's the key to the defense right now. Then, who are you going to defense? You're going to defense 81, Jesse first, or are you going to defense Terry? But I think the key here is the rush.
Well, as you look at Bum Phillips and some of his Warriors on the Houston side, just to set the scene again, 2:05 left in the game. It'll be 3rd and 15 from the Ram 48 as Hayden returns to the huddle.
You have a chart, Vinny and Jim, and you know exactly what he's done in this situation. And then you try to defense that particular man with the strongest defense that you can call.
Would you expect him to put the ball in the air now, long but with time left?
I think he'll try to get the first down.
He'll put it up probably carefully.
3rd and 15. Miller left, Jesse right. Nelson on the right side. It's Bryant and Capoletti. He's going to send it up. And he's going deep to Nelson. And the tight end makes a great catch to the 25, and that's it.
That's the ball game. It's just,
oh, what a play.
It's just what I said, really, Vinny. He had the time to throw. He had a chance to go to either 81 or 83.
Maybe in another year they wouldn't have done that.
The 2-minute warning, we're down, as you see, 1:59 now. 1st and 10 on the Houston 26, and you must remember that the Rams, on the interception by Pat Thomas, had the ball 1st and 10 on their own 10, and the Oilers were just unable to stop them.
The key to this drive, Vinny, has been Hayden has picked up every 3rd down play.
And 63 yards along the way. So 1st and 10 on the Houston 26. Miller is left, Jesse right, and you have Bryant and Capoletti. It'll be John Capoletti dragged down, but he got away from Elvin Bethea. Willie Alexander can't get him. And Steve Kiner does. It was just that simple. He escaped 2, and the 3rd man finally got him.
Well, it took a lot of time.
Sure did. And it's still running. They're down to 1:38 and counting here. It's 10-6 Rams. They don't look like they're going to give up the ball.
Here's where the Oilers have to think about using their timeouts.
2nd and 10 on the Houston 26. 1:21 left. 10-6 Rams. Miller in a slot inside Jesse Wright. Nelson's on the left side. Capoletti with Bryant blocking. And he got across the 20-yard line. Pretty good block by Terry Nelson, who is somewhat of an unsung hero. The tight end, number 83, Terry Nelson, has caught 6 passes for 110 yards.
Big catches. Now, here's where the Oilers have to gamble. Come in with 6, 7, 8-man rush and go for the football, tackle a ball, try to force a fumble.
Elvin
Bethea. The Oilers took a timeout there, Vinny.
And Bethea, for the 3rd time at least, has been shaken up today. It's been a long day for the 11-year veteran out of North Carolina A&T. So Pat Hayden firmly in command, and the key play on the drive, that sensational leaping catch by Terry Nelson.
Well, all these 3rd down plays have been big plays. He's had good protection, good execution on the pass pattern.
And yet, when you think about it, the Oilers, the underdog, had a fumble on a pass reception by Mike Barber that could have tied up the game at halftime.
Exactly.
Then they had this heartbreaking interception. So the Oilers have stayed close all day, but it looks like they're going to be a buck or two short. It's 10-6 Rams.
Their defense has been on the field a little too long.
Last week, the Oiler offensive team kept the ball long enough. They went something like 73 yards basically on the ground against San Francisco, and the defense saying that set a record for time rested. Well, they've had to pay for it today with the Rams holding on to the ball.
What we like to tell our offense right here now is 2 hands on the ball. Whatever play you call, 2 hands on the ball. Don't hold, don't commit a foul. Just play safe, run the clock out.
55 seconds left in the game, as you see. The Rams, having knocked off Dallas, playing Houston today, they go to New Orleans next week. So it's 3rd and 3 from the 20, 55 seconds left. Hayden to Cullen Bryant, big hole. And Bryant is across the 15, and finally Bill Courier had to get him at the ankles before getting him help up on top.
Cullen had 2 hands on the ball. He protected that football. The Oilers dogged on that.
32 seconds with the clock running, so evidently Houston out of timeouts. They can't stop the clock, and the Rams now can just take a bite out of it. They've got this thing.
All they got to do is fall on the ground.
1st and 10 from the 13. And Hayden goes down with Cullen Bryant and Capoletti forming an arch over him to make sure nobody falls on top of him. They will not have another play.
No, big win, a hard-fought game for the Rams. They won. They beat the Oilers at home in the Astrodome. That's a very important win for them.
So the Rams now are 4-0, trying to catch Chuck Knox's record of 1973 when they won the first 6. They'll go to New Orleans, and then actually they play New Orleans at home. Well, let me check. They go to New Orleans and then play San Francisco at home. For the Oilers, they go to Cleveland and Oakland before they play home again.